You can change lives. It's up to you to decide.
You're now tuned into Therapy Sessions. This is Deb from Therapy Life bringing you worldwide exclusives with leading electronic and underground talent. Our guest today is taking some time from his incredibly busy schedule to share a few thoughts with us. Therapy Sessions welcomes Darius Syrossian.
Hi, how are you?
It's great to have you on the show, Darius. To begin, we're going with a crowd favorite. Our listeners want to know what inspires your unique sound. It could be anything from a certain color, to a sensible feeling, to possibly a film.
Okay, well, the thing is, ever since I was a kid, I know everybody always says this, ever since I was a kid, I was quite hyperactive. And the only time my mum says I used to relax was when I was listening to music or painting. So I guess I need to occupy myself with something. And it wasn't until, I obviously listened to music when I was younger, all the 80s stuff, Human League and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I moved to UK and my friends took me to, the early raves, which were outdoor raves and stuff, that I really got into the music. And it was kind of like the more US sounding stuff, like DJ Sneak, Derek Carter, which wasn't actually that big over here, that really grabbed me. But most of the music back then, it was all the piano anthems and all the Italian house. But for me, it was the jacking stuff that really, grabbed me. And that's what I started DJing. So when I started producing, so I find it quite therapeutic, really. So
yeah, music is definitely the one medium that's capable of giving us a full therapy session completely free of charge. So it's great.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, we know that you're one of the headlining artists from Steve Lawler's Viva family. How is it working with such an amazingly talented group of musicians?
Yeah, well, Steve has taken on 4 artists now that he's keeping with Viva. Myself, Leon from Italy, David Fair from Germany, and Detlef from Greece. And we've all got a different sound, but I think we've all got the same thing, which is the groove. Whether it's techno or house or deep house, it's all about the groove and the percussion, which we all seem to have the same. And that's the Viva sound, you see. So the thing is with Steve, when I tour with him, I probably play a lot different to when I guest myself, because obviously he's the main headline act, so I have to set it up for him to be able to come in and smash it. There's no point me going, when I tour with him, playing the big tracks, because then there's no platform for him to start at. Now, he hasn't asked me to do this. Steve is such a big DJ and has such a big following. Sometimes it's good for myself to go and do my own thing, because you don't want to get overshadowed by, all the time touring with Steve, because then people are just going to think he just recorded, warm-up DJ, which I'm not.
You briefly mentioned the artist Leon, and I know you played with him at Identity Festival. I was actually checking out some great footage earlier. I'm curious to know how that collaboration went. Have you collaborated with Leon before, or is this the first time you work with him?
No, that was the first time I actually played, because I toured separately with Steve, Leon toured separately with Steve. So it was a case of, sometimes first and then Leon came on, and then sometimes the other way around. But whoever went on first had a difficult job, because the Identity Festival, the artists and the acts were all different. Sometimes I had to start after a dubstep DJ who was playing thrashing dubstep, and I'm not going to compromise what I'm about. I'm an artist, and I'm not just going to go on and start playing something just to follow that person. So, whoever had that job had a hell of a difficult job, but we managed to pull it off a few times, and then a couple of times we decided to go back to back, and it was cool because I've never played back to back with Leon before, and sometimes that can not work, but it actually worked really well. And especially we did a gig in New York, which was a secret loft party. That was just set up 2 days before it happened, and word of mouth. Basically, there was a roadblock. Somebody owned a loft space in New York, and we arrived, and there was 4 or 5 people deep, and there was 2 blocks of queue. So that night, Steve said, "Guys, relax. We're all going to go back to back." And it was brilliant. I played 3, Steve played 3, then Leon played 3. It was just brilliant. It was a really good night.
You mentioned not compromising your sound, and that a festival like Identity, where the crowd favorite is dubstep and mainstream chart music, I'm wondering how you pulled off staying true to your sound and still satisfying that type of audience.
Well, I'm going to be honest. The couple of the gigs were easy, it was brilliant, the crowd was right, but a few of them, I went on and I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to get tested as a DJ. I thought, and I never get nervous before a gig, but there was a couple and there was a guy playing thrashing dubstep, and I thought, okay, Darius, you've got to do what you do, because if there's even 100 people in there come to see me, they need to hear that's why they come to see me. So I thought, the only way to do this is to build with a big intro, sort of like stop it down, give the dubstep guy a shout, make sure he gets his like cheers, and then everybody knows that it's going to change now. So I started with something that had a lot of impact, a big build, and then just smashed into just a groove with a beat, so people knew this is what's going to happen now. I didn't just try and fade it in, and because otherwise, that's going to come off worse. But it actually worked really well, and I was proud of myself because I actually thought this is not going to work. But so it's easy to go and play Watergate in Berlin or Fabric in London, and play what you are about, because the crowd, that's exactly what they want, so that's not really a challenge. The challenge for me was stuff like this Identity Festival. But when we got a reaction, and when we got people coming up to us at the end saying, where can I hear this music, I've never heard this before, that was really satisfying, because it was like, you've introduced something to people who've never heard it before. And, I've had loads of emails back to people saying, I love this stuff, I didn't even know it was around, so. But it's a shame that it's like that in America, because, you guys gave us house music, Detroit, all my favourite artists are American. Like Juan Atkins, Jeff Mills. I mean, from the techno to the house, it all came from Detroit and Chicago, and even New York. There's all those guys. You guys gave it to us, and now sometimes this. Obviously, I've played in New York; it's brilliant. But you go to some other cities, and sometimes you think you'd expect it to be a little bit more in America. But then, I guess it's such a big place. You can't expect. I think, for example, because it is a big place, it's less hard to get, it's harder to get a community vibe going on, so, but Miami seems to be cool.
Miami's just a giant melting pot. We've got a huge Latin community as well, which is so diverse in terms of location and musical influences, so that definitely plays a big part in being open to all genres, whereas if you go a little north from Florida, people aren't really exposed to all these different cultures.
Yeah, and I think that's when you get the better crowd. I mean, that's why New York is just a mixture of all. One of the best gigs I had in America was when I played in Texas. It was really good, and I didn't expect that to be.
Really?
But it was like loads of Mexican kids, and they were loving it. So, so it's like when you get a mixture of different people, you're always going to get a better crowd, I think. So
moving on to your incredibly filled schedule this year, you did Identity, which is huge in North America, and coming up you have a residency in Leeds called Color Sound. Can you tell us a bit more about this venture?
Color Sound basically going to do warehouse spaces, and the lineups are just ridiculous. I've been chosen because I was playing at Sonar, the promoter was there, and he loved what I was doing. He said, look, I've been trying to find the perfect resident, and I loved your set, so that was cool. But at the same time, I've just got a residency at Sankey's in Manchester, which, I think DJ Mag voted it the best club in the world. And I mean, I can't say it's the best, but it's definitely one of the best. So I've got those two residencies. And then I'm playing in Canada again up till before Christmas. I've got gigs. Heidi wants to do Watergate with her in Berlin with the Jackathon thing. There's loads of things coming up, really. So, yeah. It's quite busy. They've only got 2 weekends free till Christmas, I think.
Well, that's a pretty impressive lineup and quite hectic, but we'll definitely make sure to follow up on all these events. Now, to conclude our session, I always like to get a little personal, and our listeners always seem interested in knowing what their favorite artists enjoy during their off time. So when you're not making music for the masses, what's a typical day like in the life of Darius?
Okay, well, my other passion is cooking, and any excuse to have friends around and cook. Because I actually used to be a chef, so I cook a lot. I love cooking for my friends and stuff like that. But so I also have a degree in design and painting, and I've sold loads of paintings. And Steve said to me on tour, he goes, "I've heard you paint as well." So I showed him some, and he goes, "Do me a painting." So anything that is creative, I can relax to cooking, painting, making music. But put me in front of a computer and try to make me do anything to, like, what's the word? Academic?
Yeah.
Struggle. So, yeah.
It was great having you on the show. We definitely hope to see more of you in North America. And lastly, do you have any shout outs or messages for your fans here?
Yeah, I just want to say all the people that I met at Identity Festival who came up and listened to the music and had a chat afterwards, big thanks to all them. And I hope to come to Miami soon to play. I've actually been approached by a couple of promoters who've asked about my schedule, so hopefully I'll spin there. And yeah, it'll be great to see everyone.
The all-around eclectic man, producer, cook, and visual artist. Thanks for sharing your views and talent on the show. This is Deb from Therapy Life, and you just heard Darius Syrossian on Therapy Sessions.